So this is G. Krishnan, and this is on South Africa cricket. So what can we expect from South Africa in the upcoming Pro Test series with the series drawn in Pakistan recently, and how much will that help South Africa going into this Test series?
Look, I think playing cricket is always important. So I think, the fact that a lot of the players with the 18 games and obviously that Test series have played a bit of cricket in the subcontinent, which is always, I guess, important. Your game needs to adapt, your thinking needs to adapt to be able to play here. I'm hoping that with the first Test in Kolkata, it's generally quite a good place to bat. Get good value for runs. And it's a stadium that especially if it's full, will really make the South Africans motivated to do well in. I think it's crucial on these type of tours that you start well. If you get behind the game in the subcontinent, it's very difficult to fight your way back. So I think it's important that they start well, and the batters in particular, I think, are going to really have to step up. I think South Africa arrived here with a decent bowling attack, especially in the spin department. I think Maharaj and Harmer can definitely do damage. They can control the game, and they have the ability to turn the ball, which is, so wicket-taking options with spin, and then, to see how Rabada and the likes handle reverse swing. We saw Dale Steyn in my time do extremely well with reverse swing, but I think there's good spin options for Temper to use as well.
One more if I can.
One question, please. Sorry. We'll go to Vijay Tagore.
Hi Graeme, this is Vijay. So, the one word you said about SA20 in that other interview, vibrant, which is quite appropriate, I thought. I was there. But my question is, you have played IPL and you also commentated, and now you are the policy maker of SA20. So, one element of SA20 that IPL can do with better, and one element of IPL that SA20 can do better?
Look, it's very difficult to say what IPL can do better when you've built a league and a platform when you are one of the biggest sporting leagues in the world. It's definitely something that other leagues look up to and want to emulate. I think for us, one thing that we would like to build is, in South Africa, is the heroes. I think in India you've got, so many incredible heroes that have built the game, and that's obviously through the fans' support for those heroes. And something we're working on hard in South Africa is to, bring the new generation after the Fafs and, Miller's still playing and so on, that, the next tier of guys start to really resonate with fans in South Africa and in India and around the world. And that comes with performance, but then, the marketing around it, the sort of broadcaster marketing around it, I think is something that we certainly can learn from IPL. I think the thing for us now is where we are in South African cricket, like we haven't done the impact player yet, because we for us, developing all-rounders is slightly more important. So we're still a young league, only 3 years old, and in time we'll start looking to see how we can grow like IPL is.
Yeah, actually I was supporting to say impact player maybe you can take, and IPL maybe can take wild card.
The wild card, yeah. True. The wild card has been great for us. I think that the thing about IPL's got a clean window. I think what we're starting to see in IPL now is your trades. Your trades are starting to look like the very interesting part of where IPL has developed to. I think those are going to be the big stories going into the next season of IPL. For us, impact player, for us, generally makes the game 12 on 12. Yes, it does introduce another local player into the playing lineup, but where South African cricket is in a very much a developmental phase still. We're trying, Indian cricket with the amount of talent that you've generated over the last 10 years. Look at your national team, you could probably put out 2 or 3 different, national teams. Where I feel South African cricket is, it still needs that competition, it still needs to develop players, it still needs to develop all-rounders so that we can see our national team start competing consistently again at that level.
Question from Aditya.
Hi, Aditya from the Hindustan Times. 3 seasons done, forced to start pretty soon. SA20 has obviously kind of evolved in short 3 years span. What have been the biggest learnings, and based on that, are there any plans
I think absolutely. I think for us, it's also where South African cricket is. I think with the 27 World Cup now, there's been big investment into stadium infrastructure, lights, the quality of pitches. So we've seen, that really being developed over this last 6 months into the year. I think in all the stadiums now, you'll see new lights this year in the run up to the 27 World Cup. They're looking at sort of improving pitches and so on, and investment into stadiums. Post season 5 is where we will look to grow. That is always been the case that we will look at it post season 5. I think for us, there's a number of elements when you look to grow. Where do you grow? Do you grow in South Africa? Do you grow in Africa? And then also, you want to build up your player base. I think one thing that SA20 has got right is that the 6 teams have been equally competitive. Probably the amount of South African local players has been at a good standard. And if you introduce a new team or another team, then you've got to look at another 20 to 26 South African players, and you need to make sure that quality is there to be able to keep all 6, 7, 8 teams of a high standard.
Graeme, you'll probably know the answer to this better than anyone else. Why is it that Faf doesn't seem to age at all? He seems to get younger by the day. And do you know the secret? If you can share with us. Also, one more thing. You spoke about Dale, but you didn't speak about Morgan. Is it because he's one of us now?
Speak about who?
Dale.
Morgan.
You didn't speak about Morgan.
He's enemy now. Morgan is on the wrong side of the fence. But the Faf question, I don't know. But ever since I've been playing with Faf, he's taken his image very seriously. In my day, we used to play with baggy shirts, and Faf changed that whole image to make it a lot tighter, so we all had to get a lot fitter. But no, I think Faf's always been at the forefront of fashion and youth. But David Miller's probably the best person to answer that question.
I think he's got a lot more time now on his hands to actually spend on his hair, his face, his abs, and
Hi Graeme, this is Anjali from Punjab Kesari. So my question to you is, last season Power Royals brought in Dinesh Karthik, a seasoned Indian player, and which was a rare move because usually Indian players don't feature in foreign leagues. So how did that signing come about, and do you see SA20 opening more doors for Indians?
Look, I think firstly, let me say we would love to have more Indian players. I think whenever India play in South Africa, you can see the love for the Indian team. The talent is incredible. I think we will continue to work with the BCCI on these things, and I think if that ever changes with the 6 IPL franchises, I think we're perfectly suited to be able to attract Indian players. Those type of contracts with Dinesh signing with Paul Royals is always a direct deal between the franchise. And I think, obviously with retired players and, more retired players coming, it's a balance between attracting that retired Indian player but still keeping your league competitive. And our franchises really want to win, as you've experienced in IPL and in SA20. So they're always looking for the best players who can perform consistently.
A couple of questions from me. Firstly, South Africa has been doing pretty well in women's cricket. Last 3 World Cups they've reached the finals. This time India beat them in the finals. So when do we see a women's SA20? And secondly, 26 December is traditionally the Boxing Day test, and the Boxing Day test match happens when the SA20 is beginning. So it's slightly sort of unfortunate that despite being the WTC champions, South Africa don't play a test on that day in the home calendar.
Yeah, it's actually always been the case though in the cycle that Cricket South Africa never had international cricket in this window. The South African team is here until 20 December, and then SA20 is now taking place there, and then there's the World Cup here in India in February. So it was a very small window, and I don't think South African cricket ever had a tour lined up. Never mind being WTC champions. I think this goes back years in terms of the FTP cycle. In terms of the women's cricket, we've spent a lot of time and effort investing in grassroots with under-19 camps and schools programs. I think Cricket South Africa is working on a domestic program now. I think the challenge that South African cricket has is that our national women's team is very good, but the tier below needs to be developed. So we'll look at it probably from next season. Obviously, with women's IPL and national team schedules getting busier and busier, we'll probably look to start exhibition matches like IPL did.
Graeme, Devarchit from PTI. In IPL, we have a mix of both experienced and young players in the sense that there is a MS Dhoni and then there is a very young player in Vaibhav Suryavanshi. Similarly, if you look at SA20, we have obviously very experienced, and then there is Graeme Victoria. So, just wanted to take your thoughts on how these leagues are kind of balancing out the experienced as well as bringing on the young talent. And we have obviously had some word in the sense that how South Africa as a country, as a cricketing nation, picked up over the last few years from the place it was a few years back. How much has this league been able to tap onto that young talent, which is not exactly ready to play, but getting into the system, getting into cricket, learning the ways of cricket, and getting into the game altogether?
I think it's very important. I think, in the regulations, we've had, this year we had the under-23s, we had the rookie contracts to start in the first 2 years. So, the franchises have been very good at, scouting and looking at attracting a younger player. Obviously then, those younger players being exposed to the quality of player on my right is crucial. And we've seen that the IPL has developed that really well over the years, and it's something that's important for us to develop. I think the one thing that SA20 as a league and IPL and SA20 in particular does offer is global platform for now 60. How many South African players in the league? 60, 70 South African players. Where in the past, as a fan of South African cricket, you would only ever see the players that played for South Africa. So now, with the global platform, youngsters and everyone else has a chance to perform well, and they're getting picked up at IPL. They're getting picked for their country. I think last year there were 17 or 18 South African players involved in the IPL, which is the most from a foreign representative. So these are things that is exciting, that the players are getting their platform, and then a Lawandra, Pretorius or Mapaka as youngsters can then go on and get picked in other places.
Hi, Vishal from Cricket. All of you have played a lot of cricket in India, so what kind of advice would you have for the young South Africa batters who are going to play the Test series? Especially because before you walked in, Faf, Graeme was saying that once you're behind the game a little bit in subcontinent conditions, it becomes very difficult to come back. It could play on your mind if wickets are falling quickly.
I would ask Graeme that question because he scored a bit more runs than I did coming here to India. Look, it's a tough place to come and play cricket. I think Graeme touched on it earlier. I feel generally your best chance having success here is when you start the series well, and you, especially as a batting unit, get a bit of confidence that you've got runs under the belt, and you almost put the conditions a little bit out of your head, and then the rest of the series definitely will feel easier versus starting and you're under pressure and it's low score, and you lose the first test, ball spinning a bit more. Then it's that expectation that this is going to be a hard trip for the team. So, the guys have played really well in the subcontinent the last 12 or 14 months from Pakistan. They've played well. So I'm expecting the wickets to be very much suited for spinning conditions. But it seems like the guys have really worked hard on it. But it will very much, I think the first test will be a big stepping stone for us, whether we're going to do well or we're going to struggle. It's unfortunate that it's only 2 test matches. That's the downside of the new schedule these days. You almost feel like just when you start getting into a series, the series is over. I'm a fan of minimum 3 test matches, but that's something that's happening a lot more these days.
Hi, Shana from SportsNext. My question is to Faf and Graeme. Like you said earlier that it's been a long time. South Africa has struggled to win a Test series here. How much of an advantage is the fact that now you're a WTC champion, and that automatically helps pump that motivation and around Temba Bavuma with the leadership, the one who loves keep things simple and all that. So what do you think? How much of an advantage will that be that now they come with a tag of a WTC winner?
It's confidence. Look, sport is everything to do is in your head basically. It's how confident you walk onto the field. How are you confident you feel like you can overcome any situation that you are confronted with. So South Africa would arrive in India with confidence. They will arrive as a team that they feel have played well, They're the #1 test team in the world, so that means a lot. But confidence also quickly goes when you play one test match and you lose that confidence. Sport's strange like that. One moment you feel like you're in such great form, and then a week later you feel like you're out of form. So it's great that we're coming here with it, but I would say that more importantly, how well we deal with that first test match will be it will be very important for the series. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Akshay from India Today. I have two questions. Mark, good evening. I just wanted to ask you about how much has wicket-keeping evolved over the years? As in, a couple of decades ago when we saw there were specialist wicket-keepers. Is there space for specialist wicket-keepers here? For instance, if you're a coach and you go to a school and see kids playing, will you pick a kid that is keeping well, or will you pick a good batter and ask him to keep, or him or her to keep? Because we are seeing the likes of KS Bharat and Ben Foakes losing out to better batters when it comes to wicket-keeping. So how is that balance? Has that balance changed, according to you?
I think in Test cricket, it still needs to be very much equal balance. Because, I mean, in Test cricket, you only get a certain couple of opportunities, and if you end up dropping or misstumping the top opposition batter and he gets 150, that can cost you and your team. So I think the more you go to longer formats, the more it's going to be more equal balance. I think the days of having a specialist keeper who can maybe bat at 8 or 9 are gone. Your keeper needs to be a guy who can bat in the top 6, maybe 7 if you've got a really strong batting line. But then as soon as you start going towards a shorter format like your T20s, I think teams will always select a guy who can change a game with a bat and who can hold his own as a keeper, because there's less opportunities from a keeping perspective. So, yeah, the game has definitely evolved. I think Adam Gilchrist and Kumar Sangakkara changed those roles for everyone. No, not really, but yeah, they changed the roles for keepers going forward. And as I said, Test cricket, I still like to have a guy who generally puts in as much effort with the gloves as with the bat.
Has it overall affected the quality of wicket keeping? Or
I think it has, yes. It's affected the quality in Test cricket, not really in T20 cricket. I think the guys train really hard in specifics, but for guys who are in the field for a long period of time, I think sometimes the concentration goes. As the game has evolved in T20 cricket, it's evolved in Test cricket. You very seldom see a game go in 5 days now. So that last session is quite important as a keeper, which I don't think everyone really trains for.
Just one to Faf.
Faf, my question to you. We Indians, if we want to visualize 2 South Africans in Super Kings jersey, it has to be you and Imran. Could you please tell us about having him at the very end of the auction this time, and how are you looking forward to this upcoming season with him in the side?
Imi is exceptional. He's one of those guys. I mean, I think he's the oldest cricketer that's like proper competitively still playing in all the formats. His passion for the game is infectious when you're around him. He loves it so much. So we're very grateful that he's with us again. I think in our heads we were expecting maybe someone else would go for him as well. So we're very lucky that we got him at that price. I still think he does exactly what he's been doing all the years. He's still putting in all the hard work, and he's a great human being. So yeah, happy to have him back.
David, you have played a huge role as a finisher for South Africa, but now do you see yourself taking on a mentoring role for young batters like Christian Stubbs and Brevis? And Graeme, if you could just tell us about how you feel about Brevis and his batting technique.
Yeah, I think with being experienced, it moves pretty quickly. I feel I'm 36 now, and I feel like just started the other day. So pretty privileged to be in that position to kind of help out where I can. I think I've said to many people, for me, having that experience and giving back, I actually learn a lot from the younger guys now as well. So it's not necessarily one way, where the game is going. The younger guys, you can actually learn a lot as an experienced player from them. So it works both ways. That's how I see it. But definitely, it's about just it's a journey. I think it's a journey, and it's about just making sure, as a cricketer, you're ticking all the boxes that you need to, and you're constantly having an open mind and always wanting to learn. That's my biggest thing to the younger guys. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, for the fans, Brevis is super exciting, isn't he? He gives the ball a whack. He doesn't hold anything back. I think the key has been that he's understood his game a little bit better and he's created some consistency in performance. I think, with David coming back from injury now, there's a real kind of, middle order strength to our white ball game. Seeing Quinny come back and start to get some runs now with Rickleton, and there's good competition for places. So it's exciting, I think, to see how the guys do in India over the next coming weeks, but then also for the World Cup in February, that there's also an ability to play spin in the middle overs, I think, is in that World Cup is going to be important. And there's enough there that I think players that can dominate spin in that middle order.
Graeme, question from here, Rasesh from HT. Just on this upcoming series, are you particularly looking forward to the battle between Bumrah and mini battle between him and Kagiso Rabada, two fast bowlers in the top of their powers? Trevor Swing will play a role as well in the series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's never at the forefront of people's conversation when you're playing cricket in the subcontinent. I think the South African team will definitely be preparing for how they're going to handle spin. But getting off to a solid start in your top three, having a top three that can lay a platform for you, there's nothing worse than if you go 2 or 3 down and then the spinners come on and you're against the game already. So countering Bumrah up front is going to be a big thing, and Rabada as well for India. They world-class bowlers with world-class test records. And this is a big challenge for KG. I think coming to the subcontinent, he's definitely the leader of the attack, and how he can set the tone, with that new ball is going to be important for Temba and the team.
Question to Faf. Faf, can you use the microphone?
Hi, Faf. Good to see you. You took a break after the MLC to sort of recharge your batteries, and in the final game for the Super Kings, you said that I'm still fresh and still the hunger is there. So the question is on the fitness part and how you're treading along to the SA20. And the second one would be in the final game in the IPL, after the Delhi Capitals won their final game, the coach mentioned that they didn't have the starts they were looking for, and you were the first one to come forward and said that I apologize to the teammate. Where does that security come from for you as a player?
Because the first thing, after the major league, I was playing with some discomfort in my groin for quite a while. I had pretty much the whole IPL missed, I think 6 games, which was, I think that was the unfortunate thing. I had a nice start to the IPL in terms of my own form, and then started getting an injury, and then it starts dealing with your body not feeling at its best, and then missing, and then you lose that momentum a little bit, and then didn't get the momentum back as well as I would have liked. So I finished the major league, and I was like, it's a good time for me to not go to the 100. I was supposed to go to the 100 and just spend some time to fix that. So I had an operation there, and also my other tennis elbow, and it's been 3.5 months now, and 100% ready to play again. In terms of this, I suppose some of the answer to the IPL was dealing with that injury. So I find that very frustrating, because it was the first time really in a long career where I was having to deal with an injury that was bothering me, keeping me off the field. I pride myself on someone that finishes competitions from an injury point of view. Start strong, finish strong with your body, so you try and make sure that it's always strong enough to handle as much as it gets thrown at it. So that was a frustrating process for me the last IPL, not to be at my best physically. And that happens in sport. It's part of having a long career.
And where does that security come from to admit that you didn't do it?
Yeah, so and that's just always been part of who I am as a person. Very humbled around and secure around saying where I get things wrong and where I can improve on stuff. So it was very easy for me to walk into the dressing room and say, from my side, apologize for not being the normal banker that I normally am at the top of the order. It's something I've prided myself in India, in the IPL, having a real consistent record with that, and any team will tell you they're only as good as their starts. So I was the first guy to take that on board, and hopefully can improve on that.
And one last.
Take a last couple of questions.
I have one question to Graeme and to Faf. Graeme, Simon Harmer has returned to international cricket after a long time. He's got a lot of county experience and he'll be playing in the test matches. How big a threat could he be for the Indian batters? Because this current lineup has just not played him at any point in time. And to Faf, South Africa have a lot of left-handers in Deserby, Rickleton, but Ashwin is not there, and you know him well because you've been teammates with him. How can South Africa use that to their advantage, knowing that there's one less threat and sort of they can pile on the scores if the wickets are good to bat on?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually the Pakistan tour was a big one for Harmer. I think he's really done well at domestic level and county level, but when he's got his opportunities and stuff, maybe because it's been a bit sporadic as well for him, he's almost struggled a little bit with the expectation and the step up. So I think, certainly bowling South Africa to victory and being successful, I think would give him the confidence. It's not often South African spinners have come to India and done well, but I think that Maharaj and Harmer have the ability to spin the ball and control the game, so I think that's exciting. It'll be interesting to see how Temba uses them, but I think it's good to have combinations for both left-hander and right-hander. And again, these things, they got to start well. You can come here, Indian batters take you on and smash you all over the park, and suddenly you feel like you've never bowled a ball in your life. So I think he's got to get himself into the game. If he can get himself into the game, then he certainly has the ability to win a test match.
Yeah, Ashwin is an incredible bowler, and everyone that's played him in India would say to you he's a real handful, whether it's left-handers, right-handers, new ball, old ball, extremely good spinner in these conditions. But I think similar to any format where you play against India, there's always someone waiting in the wings that is almost just as good. India's blessed with so many great cricketers in this country that always when you feel you play against India, you feel like they can, like Graeme said, put A, a B and a C team out and they will all be equally strong. So, Washington is just as good as the spinners. If I had to choose, I'd probably want to face Washington, but he's still so good that he will be effective. And the fact that there's so many quality left-arm spinners, if there's Ruff to a left-hander, a left-arm spinner, Aksar, Jadu, those guys, when there's a bit of Ruff, it's not fun.
Just a couple of questions on my side, Graeme, in terms of the SA20. What do you think are the reasons that the league has found such instant fandom in India? I mean, with 3 seasons over going into season 4, there's a lot of anticipation built up in this part of the world. What do you think has been some of the reasons that has caught the eye of the fan for the SA20 in India?
Yeah, look, I think obviously the affiliation with the IPL franchises is a start. I mean, there's already a very strong Indian fan base for the 6 teams. And then I think, Indian fans, as I said earlier, have always had a great relationship with South African cricket. There's always been I think probably if you ask most Indian fans, they would say South Africa's their second team. Well, definitely when we're playing against Australia or England. But, and then obviously, being backed by Geo, being pushed in the product, being able to access so many more eyeballs does help. You need to have a partner on the ground that can help you build your brand, and GeoStar now have really supported us extremely well in that phase.
And then, David, in terms of a player's perspective, if you look at the SA20 and you compare it to the leagues you played outside, what is so special about the SA20 that really appeals to the Indian and South African fan?
It's a hard question because all the leagues are very unique in their own way. But for me, being a South African, playing one of the leagues, SA20 at home is, it's the best thing ever. You travel around the world playing all these other leagues, but having one in back garden is, you can't beat it. Playing in front of your family, friends, fans in South Africa that have been supporting the Proteas for years and years, so it's really cool in that aspect. And then, as Graeme mentioned, there's that really good link between India and South Africa over the years, with cricket. So, the Indians really enjoy South African cricket. So, it's kind of that link.
Yeah, and then, Mark, if you could throw light on the talent in South Africa, the talent that's come up with the SA20, how that has really solidified the cricket in that part of the country, and we've become, these heroes have become homegrown heroes right here in India as well.
Yeah, I think if you look at South African cricket a few years back, I think Graeme alluded to it as well, is that we had the cricketers in the country, but the cricketers that were really playing for sort of South African teams, and you didn't know about any other talent behind them. And I think the SA20 has really exposed that next level and the level below that as well. The Indian franchises came into our country. They put scouts out there, so there was a lot of work that went on behind closed doors to expose these players. And then they go out into the global market as well. And we talk about the big leagues, but I mean, there's other leagues where a couple of our youngsters get involved there as well and do really well. Just to mention a guy like Tristan Lewis, who played for MI New York, and he had a really good 1 or 2 games towards the back end. So it's exposing these youngsters like this, which then gets exposed to not only South Africans, but the rest of the world as well. So there's definitely a crop of maybe 40, 50 players that you would never have heard of before the start of the SA20. And where it is now, hopefully we can grow it to a situation where it is like in India and your IPL, where you can select 3 or 4 teams for your national setup or your squad. We're not there yet, but we're certainly heading in the right direction. And all these youngsters that you see coming through, Lando Pretorius, Diavo Previs, I'm sure you're going to see a lot more than this season and then the season to follow as well.
Perfect. Any questions? We have one last question from Jatin. We'll keep it on SA20.
That's fine. With so many leagues emerging across the world, do you think the international cricket needs to rethink its calendar, considering the players' fitness and the availability, so that each gets enough time to cover and play for the national team?
Look, I think you'll probably find that there'll be 4 to 5 Tier 1 leagues. I'm not saying the other leagues will go away, but there'll certainly be a Tier 1 of sort of franchise leagues in different windows, so maybe 4 to 5, probably a Club World Cup coming. I think bilateral cricket is hard. I think when top nations play each other, it gets a lot of interest. Even with the ICC, they have an event a year. But I think the interesting thing to watch is going to be post-27 FTP cycle, when the new cycle kicks in, all the new rights deals get done. That's going to be interesting to watch. I think bilateral cricket, if anything, outside just sort of the top teams playing each other, is lacking a little bit of context at the moment with, 4 games here, 2 games there. There's no consistency to these things. But obviously it does come with national pride as well. So I think you're going to probably see a shift in how things work post-27.
Final question. David, you played a lot of cricket with Rishabh Pant as well, and we saw a shift in momentum last year during the final when he took an injury break. Are you now more aware of these kind of tactical breaks that players take during a T20 match, especially in a tournament like SA20?
No, I'm actually not. No, but I think with the whole, Rishabh struggled last year at RPL, but finishing strong is always nice for him. But as a player, you're always going to go through certain injuries, and it's part of the game, and it's just about managing your space around that.
Cool. One last question.
Graeme.
One final question.
One final question. So we've seen three seasons of SA20. So it has grown, and all of the teams are based out of IPL franchises. And you said there is a lot of interest. Is there interest in terms of investing in another new team from within the country? Have you seen, maybe Mark can also touch upon that?
Yeah, I think obviously there's a push in the global franchise space. We've seen the 100 now, have a varied array of investors. We didn't only have investors from IPL. I think there were 16 bids for franchises from different areas, and also out of India. But our best were the 6 IPL franchises across all the criteria. So, when we do look to grow, we would obviously, we would never not want to attract more IPL investment. I think, there's some incredible franchises here still that haven't, really grown globally. And we've fortunate enough had a lot of people that have reached out to ask, when are we looking at it, what's the opportunity? And the thing for us is to make sure we keep growing and we get it right so that people want to be a part of it.